Good morning, Amber.
Good morning, Dr. Ping.
Uh, well, thank you for introducing me during the rally.
Thank
Uh,
you for agreeing to speak. It was fantastic to have you.
well, thank you. So, uh, so when did you get involved in this fight?
Years and years ago.
Right,
Originally, I started back when Common Core was unleashed. Back during the Obama days
right.
is when I got involved on more of a federal level.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, people didn't understand what critical pedagogy was. Thankfully for me, I grew up in a Black and white household.
Okay,
So my grandma was white and my grandpa was Black. So
okay,
I was brought up with the words of Martin Luther King,
right,
constantly being shown how they're actually used in real life.
right.
And so almost from birth, I would say I was brought up to be a civil rights activist.
Mm-hmm.
So when Common Core came through and I started to see those little pepperings of things that just weren't right, that were spreading discrimination, that were forcing people to look at differences rather than similarities, and rather than finding common ground, it was look at the differences and use them against somebody.
Right.
That's what Common
Wow.
Core was. There was a heart of it. There was a root of it. And it was clearly visible that it was communist.
Okay.
That was when it kind of started. Then, the fighting against
Well,
the...
that was like Obama era, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. So we're talking a decade ago.
wow. So
Yeah.
back then, if you tell people that,
They thought I was nuts. I was a conspiracy theorist.
right?
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Back then I would share the videos of the Communist Manifesto and what that meant current day. And still I was a conspiracy theorist, as many others were out there. I watched my friends who were fighting get pretty much demolished monetarily by the IRS because they were, the IRS was on a witch hunt back then.
Oh wow.
So it just became more and more apparent to me
Mhm.
that what people were saying was conspiracy theory was far from conspiracy theory.
Right.
And that there was so much truth behind it that they were willing to hunt people down.
Yeah.
So then
sorry. And what were you doing at that time? Like are you working for...
we owned a trucking business.
Okay.
So I ran the entire office, all of the regulations, the whole back office I ran. My husband was the truck driver.
Okay.
And at that time I had 2 kids and they were very young. So I got involved with a lot of patriots, and it just started where it was almost God-led is how I fell into it, because we didn't know that we were all patriots until we found each other. And we realized that we were all working towards this beautiful common goal to fix the country and to make sure our country stays intact.
Right.
And to make sure our children were safe. That was the big thing, was making sure this country stays intact for our children, because once it's gone, our children will never know what freedom is.
Exactly. Because they never lived in non-free country, so they don't know when you're starting to losing it.
Exactly. So then if we fast forward, I took a little bit of a backseat once Trump was in. Things seemed to be going okay. Every once in a while, we'd open our mouths, because of all the different socialist garbage and communist garbage going on within government. So we'd open our mouths. Then everything happened with the Marxist movement during COVID. At the beginning of COVID, however, when they started putting the kids in all the masks, and to mask everyone, I told everyone, this is communism. This is the beginning of government pressure being put on the people to relieve us of our rights. If we let these rights go, we will not get them back. That is the way this works. This is a virus. This is not a disease. As much as they want to say it's a pandemic, they have been, skewing numbers so ridiculously that we will never know the truth. However, we know the truth.
Right.
So then it went from there to the Marxist, the try for that Marxist revolution going on with George Floyd. Now, what I started to see then was the pushing of the critical pedagogy. Once again, 1619 Project, the storytelling, the complete nonsense. Then at that point, I was working at Clark Pleasant Schools.
Oh.
September 2020, I believe it was, the date was September 27th, 2020. Dr. Spray released, our superintendent, released a letter to everyone where he said, I'm bad for being white, pretty much. And then he told everyone what you have to read in order to wake up, in order to get woke, we should say.
Wow.
I am awake.
Right.
In order to get woke. So he brought in books like Stamped, like White Fragility, just the nonsensical books that are causing a divide rather than causing a bridge. You know, we're not building a bridge with those things. Once I saw that, I called him and he lied to my face, of course. Then I thought everything was okay. You know, I thought we were good. My kids were going to the school at that time. I started working for the school, and then March 2021 came. Okay. And we had Jason Reynolds come to this school, one of the co-authors of Stamped Reboot. Oh. So he came to the school, he did his whole, you know, spewing of garbage. And they proceeded to hand out books to the middle schoolers that were signed copies of the books. This was done without parents knowing. Right. Okay. We didn't know they were bringing in a socio-political author to start the indoctrination of our children. Right. We didn't know this until our children got home from school. Right.
And it's not easy, not cheap to get him over and get the books,
no, it's not cheap.
So
it's not cheap, but welcome to the Esther Funds. This is when we get into the government funding for this garbage. Oh, okay. This is when we get into how they are using and abusing our children and trafficking our children within a government entity in order to make money. You know, I mean, it is absolutely disgusting.
So what is Esther Fund? I heard about it, but I don't know.
Okay, so Esther Fund is your Indiana grant system based off of the COVID relief. Depending on how many of the different levels they follow as far as compliance, they get certain amounts of money. So, and from what I understand, it's going on until 2023. So these people are really making a bankroll.
Oh, is the money come from the Indiana taxpayers or the money from federal?
It's a state funded.
Really?
State funded. Now, I'm not sure if there is a breakdown from money that comes in from the federal government and then is also part of taxpayers' money. But yes, it's absolutely part of taxpayer money.
Right. I mean, eventually, yeah, definitely it's all taxpayers.
I mean, where else are they getting the funding?
Right. Yeah. So either like it's funded by Indiana residents or by American citizens.
Yeah. So either way, we're funding this. Right. Either way, it's being funded by taxpayer money because our government, we own them. We own them. Right. We pay them. Right. We are the ones that everything in this country is from our money.
Exactly. And also like now I heard people saying like they are going to use COVID to change, not just change America, actually change the whole world. I mean, yes. Yeah, there is actually
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, the CEO of founder and CEO of the World Economic Forum, and which influence all the leaders of pretty much all the developed countries, and he wrote a book. It's called the COVID-19, the Big Reset. So definitely
the Great Reset.
Yeah, the Great Reset. Yeah.
But what's funny about the whole thing, Dr. King, is that I truly believe it's backfiring on them. I truly believe it's backfiring, and what's happening is to replace that Great Reset, we have the Great Awakening. Now, when we're awake, we're Americans.
Right.
You are not going to put us in shackles. We don't.
Right.
We have watched other countries go through it. We know the history, and you're not going to do that to us. And I think that they're starting to get a little concerned about it. I do. I think they thought it was going to be, you know, a free flying situation for them, and they were going to be able to do whatever they wanted to us.
Right.
But nope, they are
not.
No.
Yeah. Well, this is what's so great about America is because American people, they are not easily to be pushed over. I mean,
not easily manipulated at all.
Yeah. So in a way, that's in our DNA to first of all to be suspicious of the government, and second of all, we will stand up against the government if government is doing something which is not constitutional.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. We have a freedom of thought. We have a freedom of voice. Yeah. And we have a freedom of assembly. Right. If those things are taken away, then we're done. They're not taken away though, and they're not going to go away without a fight. Yeah, I mean, if you look at through the human history, the tyrannies, the people who wants to have total control, they always use some kind of crisis. Yeah. Because during the crisis, people can get scared, and then people just looking for kind of a strong man, so to speak, a Superman to kind of. It's fear intimidation. It's fear intimidation, and then manipulation after that. Right. So they put you in fear, they intimidate you, and then they control you. The great thing about our country, though, is that we are not communist. And we do have a freedom of information. Right. So people are getting the information and opening their eyes. Right. Thank God, because I can't even, I was absolutely concerned that people would just bend over and, you know, out of fear. Right. There's honestly nothing to be afraid of. No. You know, yeah. I'm going to tell you, Dr. Ping, I have a friend in New York. Her daughter died during COVID. Her daughter was pregnant. She was pregnant with with one of those extremely high risk pregnancies. So she had issues with her uterus. I see. It was later in pregnancy, and she went into the hospital. Now this is New York. This was during COVID. Okay. She went into the hospital because she started having severe pains. At the same time, it was allergy season. So she went into the hospital. She ended up dying. Her baby ended up dying. And on her death certificate, it's not that her uterine walls broke and she bled out, and the baby died from being suffocated or having loss of food from the mother. It was COVID. Right. She died because of COVID. Right. My father-in-law up in Wisconsin was telling me a story that there was somebody in Wisconsin that died in a motorcycle crash. Motorcycle crash. Guess what's on the death certificate? COVID. So if that doesn't open people's eyes enough to know that this is all just nonsense. All right. Well, yeah. This is the thing. Is like it become obvious that they are trying to use COVID as much as they can to expand the government control. Yes. Like for the whole vaccination thing, I mean, I watched the whole process. It's to me, it's kind of shocking. Like a lot of people just okay with it, because you look at what happened. First of all, they say, okay, well, it's for your own sake, right? For your health. Yeah. And you got shot and you'll be okay. You don't have to wear a mask. Yeah. And then that becomes, actually it's for other people's health. So you don't get grandma or grandpa can get infected so that they may die, and you do that for somebody else. Yeah. And then they're going to say, okay, if you get COVID, you get the shot, we'll give you, $100 or maybe $10. I know the local Maya sometime they actually give you
I don't forget the amount, $10 or something, just like
It's
for,
crazy. It's
yeah,
crazy. There are businesses that are giving employees $1,000
right.
to be vaccinated.
And
And see, that's where it comes down to my fight for the kids, because I am not going to allow this to trickle down to our children.
right, right.
There is no. It doesn't happen. I watched a couple of videos of children being held down to be vaccinated.
Right.
Now, if that was my child, the wrath of God would have opened upon them. And then the masking of the kids. This is all a money play. This is all a control play and a money play. It's a two-sided coin. There's two parts. First of all, they're getting a lot of money. These schools are making millions of dollars. Some of them in the upwards of $6 million. Wow. $6 million. That is crazy. And then on top of that, you have the indoctrination. So we have the COVID, right? Which now parents can't go into schools. You can't go into your kids' classrooms. You can't be a visitor. Okay. Then we have the implementation of critical pedagogy. Right. And that being all of the transgender stuff, all of the LGBTQ stuff, all of your, white supremacy. Every white is a white supremacist. Right. And, every Black person is oppressed. It's very, very, very sad, especially from my background. Right. Yeah. To see them labeling all Blacks as oppressed. Right. And all whites as oppressors, because if that was the deal in my house, I mean, they would have never lasted until, decades and decades, my grandparents. Right. It is disgusting. So you have the COVID funding, and then out of that COVID funding, you have to understand that that's where the SEL funds are coming from too. Right. But then they're also getting funded for SEL. Right. So the SEL being the framework that it is to import the critical pedagogy, the parents really have to open their eyes and really be in the present, really understand what they're looking at here.
Yeah, I think most parents are still,
complacent, trusting.
It's trusting. It's like, I think I find that most Americans are kind, trusting, and they don't think ill of other people.
Exactly.
And so they just
so they can't fathom it.
Right. They
can't fathom the government coming to take their kids.
Right. And they couldn't fathom, like, there are actually group people who are after their children.
Yes.
Who think
actively that trying to get them.
Right. Exactly. And who thinks that parent has no say in their kids' education once they get into the public school. Yeah. And this is a mindset. I think also, I just read a article. I mean, you know what happened in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
The gubernatory debate, right? Mm-hmm. And I forgot his name, but he's pretty well known. And he said that parents has no role in there in deciding how their kids get educated.
Well, Clark Pleasant, their school board members who I believe have just resigned, one of them said to another parent that the Parents' Bill of Rights that our very wonderful AG Todd Rokita came out with, that doesn't hold any teeth. That is not law. That is Indiana law. It's Indiana law. It's written into Indiana law that parents have rights, and they're broken down. Like it tells you exactly what I can do to protect my kids and to make sure they're getting an education.
Yeah, because their mindset that is the parents really, well, in a way, from their critical pedagogy, especially you are white, you are racist. So basically, they don't want you be part of the kids' education because they want to turn the kids into anti-racists.
Yes.
So therefore, of course, they don't want the parents get involved. They are turning the kids actually against their parents.
Yes, they are. Now you have the other side of it. You have, well, not the other side, another part of this. With the anti-police teachings, you have law enforcement families that are facing just some horrendous discrimination because, like, the children, because their parents are law enforcement, because of these books. Yes, because of the teaching. It's disgusting. A friend of mine, she is a law enforcement family. Her husband is in law enforcement. She had to pull her kids from public school because of the discrimination and the bullying and the way that they were treating her children in school because her husband was law enforcement.
Wow.
This is so big. And I hope if anything comes from you and I meeting today, I hope that we open hearts and we open minds and we take off the blinders and we take out the earplugs.
Right.
And people can look at things with a very clear lens instead of it being clouded by the intimidation and the manipulation.
Exactly.
Because we have to save our kids.
Yeah, I mean, you see the whole thing, the vaccine thing, like they started from say, okay, it's nice for you to get vaccinated. It's good for you. It's good for others, and we'll give you money. Pretty soon, get into if you don't get vaccinated, we'll fire you.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the whole communist tactic.
Yes, it is.
It's just
it is absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you have nurses that want to do a walkout. Well, if they do a walkout, they're going to get their license taken away because that means that they're a detriment to their patients. So they're not servicing their patients and taking care of their patients if they walk out. So it's a very interesting kind of tactic they're using right now. Yeah, but people really have to be strong.
Right. And this kind of, I don't think this ever happened before in this country. Is like you have employers forcing employees to do something, and otherwise they'll fire you, and that has nothing to do with their work. This is totalitarianism.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right. And of course, I'm grateful that, hopeful that there are many parents and also many Americans are starting to wake up and say, okay, no, that's not what we want for our country.
Yep. And there are more and more parents are waking up. I mean, my group, Parents Against Government Overreach, back in June, I had 25 people in that group. 25 people, because people thought I was crazy. Right. People thought, oh no, that isn't coming to our school. Yeah, it is, guys. And then we had the DIE put in. Right. And when that installation happened, it was just completely off of all of our radars. It was in May, and then when I saw the employment ad for it, right away, it was like bright red lights going off. It's time to really get involved. That's May this year, right? May 2021. Yes. Yeah. I also I also see an ad around that time by the Indianapolis public libraries. There is an ad about for a DEI officer. Yeah. And that's when it really started to explode. And we're in the height of COVID. You know, we're involved in COVID. Everybody's scared. Nobody's watching because everybody's scared. You know, thankfully I was keeping a watchful eye, and the members in my group, we all knew what was going on. And thankfully we started to kind of chase it, and you know, then we got caught up to it. But I mean, these schools are using their Esther Funds to implement their diversity, equity, and inclusion officers. They're misappropriating funds. You know, for us, the funding that the diversity, equity, inclusion officer came from was a taxpayer referendum that we all voted on within our county, within our school district, that it would be put towards school police. They voted in March of 2021 to divert those funds and use them to bring it in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, you know, I try to tell parents, really look at where this funding is coming from. Right. Because, and it's in your school particular, like it's in each school, it's done a little different. for us, it was misappropriation from a referendum for school police. Other schools, it could just be through COVID, or they could have some other entity that they're using to siphon money out of.
Right.
Maybe they have an education fund that they're siphoning money out of. It really is important to look at where the money is coming from and where it's going within our school districts, because that is a big way we can fight this.
Right.
Is to be present and to be able to really look at what these districts are doing, even past the education in the classroom, because the money is coming from somewhere.
So how can a parent to get those kind of information?
Well, what they would do is they'd go into, typically here in Johnson County, we have Board Docs. Board Docs is a website where the school's minutes go into and their agendas for their school board meetings. So it does take a lot of research. For me, it took quite a while. And then I also had a couple of people who were feeding me information at the same time that were in legislature.
Okay.
So
that's good.
Over the span of maybe a month or so is when I felt, from June to July, is when I found where those funds were actually coming from. So what I recommend is Google search, your school, and then school board meeting agendas or minutes, and then dive into each and every one of them, even special sessions, dive into all of them to look for where the funds are coming from, because that they have to give us that information.
Right.
That information, they just can't keep it secret. That information is there.
Okay.
We just have to
look for
research.
it. Yeah. And do you see any foundations in this picture, like Bill Melinda Gates Foundation or Zuckerberg Foundation?
Funds SEL. Zuckerberg's wife even funds SEL, the Castle. So, but then, locally we have more of like the Love More organization, which their diversity, equity, and inclusion is only good if it's good for them.
Right.
And so that's where Love More comes in with their nonsense. They have really jumped into the ocean of all of this discriminatory nonsense. And
is that
they're pushing the social justice. If you go through their website and you actually pull it apart.
Okay. Is that a local organization, Love More?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they were built out of they were made out of Franklin, and you'll see the signs. They're the Love More signs around town, and you might look at them and go, "Oh, Love More, yes." For me, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a great thing." And then you start to get into their website and just do some clicking around. That's all it takes.
Well, that's their tactic. They use nice words, but they actually twist the meanings. So yeah, it's kind of like what's happening in communist China, in Russia, and also in 1984, the book is basically everything is opposite. When they talk about love, they meant hate. Yeah. When they talk about inclusion, they mean the exclusion. And diversity is not diversity. I mean, you cannot think differently from what they are thinking. It's just like the whole thing. Like even the equity is
equity is not equality.
And also they don't practice what they preach.
No.
People on the top, they make millions of dollars, and I haven't heard anyone share their wealth with their members.
See, my concern about equity is what's starting to happen is, and I believe it's already happened in California in quite a few school districts. You know how your highly academic kids get put into the AGL, so the advanced grade level stuff. Well, that goes away.
Right, you can.
So you have to be right here with everyone. And so also what happens, on the other side, so you have your highly academic kids that are suffering. Well, what happens on the other side is your disabled kids are going to start suffering.
Right.
So the kids who actually need the equity, that have it built into government law, that have the ADA, that have the education law for kids with disabilities, all the money no longer goes there. It is getting distributed based off of equity. Wow. And people, they think, oh, diversity, equity, inclusion. Oh my goodness, that'll be great for my disabled child, because that's how Clark Pleasant sold it. They sold it to one of to some of the people in school that if you have a handicapped child, your child will not face issues with diversity. Your child will not face issues with having equity. Well, no, they do when you're giving the equity to everyone across the board.
Right.
It just ends up, they think it's balanced, but it's completely unbalanced.
No, not at all.
Equality anymore. Everyone needs to be given the ability to soar, yeah. And they're not doing that anymore.
No, definitely. I mean, this is a purposeful effort to dumb the kids down, and
absolutely.
So that
Common Core.
Yeah, so that they can because once they done that, then they can have the vote.
That's right.
And so with the vote,
they don't understand what they're voting for.
Right. And with the vote, they can get power, because that's easy, right? They just say, okay, if you vote for me, I give you money. Of course, people vote, just like what the current administration does. They just can handling money left and right. And you mean, if you have a student loan, don't worry about it. We'll wipe it out. I mean, so as long as
that money coming from?
Right. As long as you vote for me, then, I mean, this to me, they just like, this is a legal vote buying.
Oh, yes.
It's legal. I mean, it's weird in a way that you cannot use your own money to buy votes. That's bad.
Yep.
You'll go to jail for that. But you can use other people's money to buy votes, and that's fine. This is how, weird that we'll get into. But unfortunately, that's basically both parties are doing that. That's why we don't have we still couldn't have like term limit. We could have couldn't have meaningful like election. What trying to say, to make sure the voting is fair, and the vote is it came from the real voters. Yeah. So
we don't have any. We need better voting integrity.
Right. Exactly. That's what we're trying to find. Vote.
That's okay. I got you, Dr. Ping.
Integrity. Yeah. I'm still, not my native language, so it's kind of.
You're still, all right.
Thank you. Because I mean, a little bit can digress there, because the whole thing, the 2020 election, it's both parties basically trying to get rid of Trump.
Yes.
And Trump actually had been kind of backstabbed by the GOP establishment.
Oh yes.
I mean, I have, I heard like my friends, when I have two friends, they went to Wisconsin for the vote recount, and I mean, they are okay. I mean, they expect that the Democrats are trying to block them, trying to give them trouble and all that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what they see is the GOP didn't bother to put up a fight.
Nope.
They just let it go.
Nope. That's right. This was definitely, it's sick. It's sick because there used to be a time when you could somewhat trust what one party said to be what they actually mean.
Right.
And now you can't. Like, we want to say Trump was a Republican, but he was his own.
Right. He was on his own. Yeah.
He was his own. He wasn't Democrat and he wasn't Republican. He was just Trump. He was a man of integrity. He was a man of honesty, and he was a man that was not scared.
Right.
And, to be very honest with you, Dr. Ping, he's one of the reasons why parents are not scared to stand.
That's good.
Because he gave us courage, and he showed us we don't have to be afraid. What do we have to be afraid of?
Right. Exactly. I mean, for years we are crying out, say we want someone who is not a politician, right? Who does not play politics, and finally we got someone,
and the election got stolen.
Yeah, and half the country, I mean, trying to really silence him. I mean, it's weird, the whole thing. Like, you're talking about Facebook, don't allow him to talk, and Twitter's cancel his account, and at the same time, if you go to Facebook, you see the page by Communist China's official news.
It's ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah, news agency. They have a Facebook account, and this
like, why can't Trump talk? What's going on? Well, what I find interesting is that Pence was from here. Pence was from Indiana, but I heard through a grapevine. I'm not sure if it was like, the canned phone call kind of thing. Maybe it got, distorted over time before it got to me. But from what I heard was he's not allowed to rally here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
By GOP?
We don't know.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if it had to do with Holcomb, because Holcomb is not a Republican. He is not for us at all, or we wouldn't have been shut down for as long as we were.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have done this new thing with, if you wear a mask, you don't have to contact trace. Right. See, that's the Esther funding. He gave the schools a way to get more money. Yeah.
He definitely, at least he does not behave like a Republican.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't behave like a Republican, and he doesn't behave like a good human being.
No.
Because honestly, look at JFK. JFK was a Democrat, but he was a good human being. Mm-hmm. He was a good human being. Mm. And look at Trump. He was just a good human being. No, Holcomb. Oh my God. Yeah. I tried so hard to get rainwater in. I tried so hard. I was part of his campaign. I made a video. I had signs in the trunk of my car every day to give to people. I was walking through Walmart getting veterans. I mean, it was very sad when I found out we were going to have a communist back in, because our state is rated as one of the top 10 China business friendly states in the United States.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
But we are.
Yeah, but one thing I know, his campaign actually got money from the Chinese government.
Yes, they did. Yes, he did. He also got them from the Democratic Party, especially Michigan.
Oh, wow.
If you go into, because that's also what I do, is because I told you I was involved federally. So it's not just local for me. I start to dive into other federal stuff too. And when I looked into his funding, I just about fell out, because even the corporate funding he was getting was from such socialist companies. You really have to take a look. You really, everybody needs to take a look at where Holcomb got his campaign funding.
Wow.
Because it's all there. They have to give that to us.
Okay. Wow. Sometimes, like, we just don't want to think ill of other people. We can think, well, kind of sounds incredible to us. You say, how far they can go, right? Yeah. We normally give people benefit doubt to say, okay, well, he meant well, or maybe he didn't work out that. But sometimes there are people who meant ill. Yeah. They are they're trying to get their power. I mean, like if we get back to like the critical pedagogy and the critical race theory and the DEI and all that, if you look at their literature, their books, they didn't hide it. I mean, everything they talk about is power.
No, it's a whole right there.
Right. But they want power. It's very clear. They just use that to get power. I mean, if you read Ibram Kennedy's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Oh, I can't. Yeah.
It's about power. That's it. And he made that clear. I mean, he is going to
I believe he actually says those words.
Yeah.
Like he actually, I believe he actually, crazy.
I spent like about a week actually reading his book, and right after I read his book, I actually found Hitler's book, Mein Kampf. So I read that too. Yeah. These two books are very, very similar.
I know, very similar ideology, just the different characters.
Right, different words, and I mean, but Hitler, if you look at Hitler's book, is talking about he wants to have social justice.
Yes.
And the way he can get social justice is through power.
Yes.
Yeah, is
power and purification.
Yeah, so it's not
purifying.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
definitely.
Anyone thinks this is okay.
And I don't know. That's part. I don't know. I still haven't got anyone. Hopefully I can get some school board members that we can have a dialogue and say, okay, what's going on? Have you read the book? And are you okay with it? Yeah.
Good luck.
I mean, to me, you just pick a book, right? You know, like this book actually, I found that on the Greenwood, but not Greenwood, Senegal School website. It's listed as a recommend reading for teens and parents. I mean, I just bought the book and read it. I mean, I said, no, that's so clear. I mean, there's just like incredibly kind of clear what they are trying to achieve. He was talking about, he was kind how to say, he wants to have a department of, I think it's called Department of Racial Equity or something like that. And that department has the power to make sure all the officials are, you know, follow. I mean, all the officials, like they want to go through, make sure everyone bought into their ideology.
Yes.
And you cannot, not only you cannot have any act of so-called racist, but you cannot even have thoughts that they deemed racist. I mean, this is you know.
You know, I laugh because it is so completely ludicrous that anyone would buy into this.
Yeah, this
it is completely mind-boggling that you have people standing up for it. I mean, white people and black people. My black friends, I'll tell you the concern of my black friends. My black friends say, critical pedagogy is viewing us as oppressed. Are we going to go back to slavery? That's what this is an honest to God, heartfelt concern. And I don't understand why everyone else isn't viewing it this way.
Right.
It's, you know, I guess it's the love thy neighbor Christian thing. But here's the thing, guys. It's like Jesus wouldn't have let this be okay.
Right.
This is not love thy neighbor. This is look at your neighbor for their differences and, you know, shoot them.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what this is.
I think you nailed the head. Well, trying to find that the head of nail. You can nail it, and it is because we have been taught in this country that especially our children from very young is to love your neighbors and be nice to people, and but we forgot to tell them there is also a fighting spirit. I mean, Jesus went to the temple and overturned the tables and all
Yes.
that. And
Yes.
so sometimes we just have to fight. Even the Bible said there's a time for peace, there's a time for war, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we haven't really taught. Can't think about myself. I haven't really taught enough of that to our kids, to my kids. Sometimes you have to stand your ground and say, okay, I'm not going, there's a line there. I'm not going um, to back down from there. I can accommodate, right? That's what we did. We accommodate. We are, we tolerant, right? We tolerate. We, and now they are say, okay, that's not enough. They want to rule us. Basically, they want the power to rule us. And I think it's time for us, especially Christian, to say, okay, no, we cannot go. Here's our line. We're not going to back down, and we're going to fight. And,
this is evil. I don't see why any Christian would ever think that Jesus would be okay with this. See, I truly love, I do, I love my neighbor. I've had women dox my children back during COVID because of my views, Clark Pleasant parents, to the point where they were telling their children not to be friends with my children. They were threatening my life and saying that the one was a nurse. She said, I hope that you and your kids end up being on death's doorstep so you can be put on a ventilator and die.
Right. Wow.
That's what I was told. So, but those people, and I need you to understand where I'm coming from. Those people, I still love them.
All right.
And it isn't that I love what they do and who and what they've become. I love them enough to fight for them.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not just fighting for the parents in my group.
Right.
I'm fighting for every parent out there who may have the blinders on and may not be able to see it, may have evil in their hearts. I'm fighting for them.
Right. Exactly. That's what we should do. And that's what Bible teach us how to do it. Not to hate the people, but really to fight the evil behind that. There is, it is a spiritual battle.
Yes, it is.
And especially when you see the energy from the other side.
Yes.
This is tremendous energy on their side.
I see we're going through we need a revival in schools.
Right.
But my Christian heart also says we need a revival in Christ, because people who even say they're Christian, they really need to accept again. Jesus, because this, whatever they're going through, where they think this stuff is okay, and you have churches that are doing paths to God workshops, and they're importing in racial equity into that, and racial division. How dare they?
Right.
They should be ashamed of themselves.
Right.
In fact, these school boards, they should be ashamed of
themselves.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Superintendents.
Yeah. What is you see that? This is what I'm trying to tell parents. I actually ran for the Senior School board in 2016. I was trying to wake up the parents and say, okay, our kids are not prepared. There's not much learning going on, and the data is there, right? We see that, and the recent data for center school, elementary and middle school, the district average for 2021 I learned is about I don't remember the exact number, so it's about like 40 some percent, less than half, and that should be a concern.
Yeah, it should.
Money should go there, right? If there is any money,
instead of into equity and inclusion and diversity, you need to put it into the plans to fix our education. Exactly. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, but that's they didn't do that. The school boards and all that, they are not bothered by that, and they get away with it. Like how this is something I'm still do not understand it, or at least I find it's difficult to understand, is that we have a state standard. We have iLearn.
Yes.
Before that, iStep.
Yes.
Shouldn't school be held accountable for that? Now, if your
Well,
kids,
they should.
if your kids, yeah, if your kids didn't pass, if the student didn't pass iStep, why
Then there
you
needs
let,
to be an audit.
right? Why
They need
don't
to
you,
be going in and auditing the schools.
right? And also, why do you push the kids to the next grade? You haven't
Yeah.
finished the whatever you're doing there. And I mean, even for like center group school district is have lots of money,
Mm-hmm.
but we still couldn't, was just not acceptable when you have less than half the student can only, pass iLearn. But I haven't heard any, school board or administration and even talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and then you look at the superintendents that are getting paid almost $200,000 a year, and you're going, wait a minute, why isn't some of this money being spent on my kids? But you brought up a really good point. The IDOE really should be going in with these, they're under 50%. I mean, my children go to Christian school.
Yeah.
And we're up closer to 70%, which, that's awesome. Okay. But these schools that are under 50%,
right,
the IDOE really needs to go in there and do an education audit to see why.
Right.
A money audit.
What mean, if you look at, center group actually is by comparison, actually, the schools on, the top, one of the top schools, right?
Yes.
The other school even worse. And if it goes to, like, especially when you go to Indianapolis public school, and their average
schools are terrible.
Yeah, their average is only about 10%, but they are not under any audit.
No, and they really should be, because they're failing our children.
Exactly. They just like, inflate grades and move up. And this is actually something I was trying to warn parents, is that the grade inflation is real. Every school I know, they inflate their grades. So nowadays, when you got B and A, it doesn't mean much.
Nope.
And
didn't they change the passing grade to 50 now? Like if you get over 50?
Oh, what? The thing is,
it used to be 65.
Right. I didn't know that. But the thing is, it's so easy to get 50% because.
Oh, it is.
Because, like, I was teaching a Christian school. We have to inflate the grade to compete with public schools. So I taught math. Like, when kids taking a test, even though they get everything wrong, they will still get 50%.
Yes.
That to me is like unacceptable. But we just have to, as teachers.
Yeah.
We have no choice. But it's wrong. It is. That's why one of the reasons I quit teaching is because I just cannot see myself keep doing it. Yeah. Because you basically were lying to the parents.
Yeah. And you're not doing the job you thought you were going to do, and educate and find out which kids need extra help and get them the extra help they need.
There's no resources for the kids who need help. And even like what you mentioned, the whole dumb down thing. And because we dump things down, even the first of all, the people on the who's doing well, who's on the top, they were not challenged. And so they were under a false impression that they are doing well. Until they went to college, and then all of a sudden find out.
Yesterday, because yesterday was our Franklin schools, our Franklin Community School Corporation school board meeting. Me and a few other parents showed up, and the very first thing they were talking about was a program, I believe it was called AIMS, and it was AEMS. Well, what AIMS does is, let's say your child is in 3rd grade and your child doesn't read to a 3rd grade level. AIMS fixes that and makes it so that they are read a program reads them a book at a 4th grade level.
Okay.
So that says that they are actually reading at a higher grade level. So it really is absolutely disgusting what they're doing.
So
They're pretending, they're not teaching our children.
So they are faking it.
They are 100% faking it. If you'd like, I can send you the link to the school board meeting. You can see what I'm telling you. They didn't hide it.
Right.
And me and these other parents were looking at each other and going, wait a minute. They're saying that they're gonna just say these kids read because somebody read them a book? Yeah. Yeah. It was, they just said this, and parents are like, yay. Why? Your child can't read.
Right.
They need to learn how to read.
What this is what I see as a teacher is that a lot of parents, or they are okay. Well, I shouldn't say they're okay, but their focus is on what kind of grades their kids got.
And as long as their kids get those good grades.
Right. Got B and A, they are not really concerned if their kids learned anything.
Well, see, and here's the other side of that concern for me. So you have a child who's in 3rd grade that's reading at a 2nd grade level.
Right.
So somebody just starts reading them books at a 3rd grade level, and all of a sudden, their lexile is going to go up.
Right.
Well, what if that 3rd grader was dyslexic?
Mm-hmm.
What if that 3rd grader was dysgraphic?
Right.
What if that 3rd grader had vision problems?
Right.
We'll never know.
We never know.
Because the funding is going towards equity. Do you see how it all ties in?
I know.
So the funding is going towards equity, level playing fields.
Right.
The funding is not going towards to find the kids who actually need the education and need the extra support.
Right.
It is absolutely disgusting.
Right. And this thing is, we just have to realize that, I mean, as Americans, it's a rich country, but still resources are limited.
Well, resources are limited when they're going to put their things into a socio-political agenda and not teach your kids.
Right. They take money from that. Yeah. Well, this is one thing I see, which is doesn't make sense until you understand what they are trying to do. I mean, those communists, because I think our country probably is one of the few that if you are in our education system, if you are smart and you work hard and you have no help, the resources is not going to you.
Yep.
The resources is to push the people on the bottom, supposedly trying to push people up, but in reality, it's actually pull everyone down, which is different from like say Asian countries. I grew up in China, right? And if you work hard and you're smart, you get all the resources.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the best teachers and all that. And this country is just doing the opposite. But
it's failing.
The only thing that can make sense to me is because that was done on purpose. It's done by the people who is pushing us the critical pedagogy and critical race theory. It's really, we just like you said earlier, I mean, we have a communism in our country, and the communism is actually taking over many of our institutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our government institutions are just, they're being lost to it.
Right.
And
I mean,
it has to stop.
Right. I mean, even the military now is actually pushing the whole equity thing. Yeah. It just, I read a report today. It's about Walmart. And so Walmart actually require that their employees to go through this training, you know. Yeah. So basically saying that
diversity training.
Right. Basically saying that you are white, then you are guilty.
Yes.
I mean, you are racist, even though you don't realize it.
Yeah.
So, and so therefore, but there is a way for you to kind of atone yourself by,
Yep.
become an anti-racist.
Yep. Well,
It's like,
Clark Pleasant did that with their employees back in 2019. This I found out after I was pretty deep into the fight.
okay.
In 2019, their transportation department, everyone was called into a room together, and you had to stand in a circle.
Okay.
And I think it was done by something called the Peace Institute. I'm not 100% sure, so I can't be quoted on it, but I can find the document for you because I do have it. But what they were doing was everybody stands in a circle and they start to ask you diversity and equity and inclusion questions. Now, depending on your answer, you would get pulled from the circle and you would stand over on the side. Okay, fine. The last person left, right? That person was told that they are the most racist in the group.
Wow.
By the people who were giving this working seminar.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's public shaming.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is what happened. This is what happened in the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when I think of this stuff, it's completely mind-boggling to me that none of those employees stood up and went, "I'm not doing this because I'm not racist. How dare you?" Because that would have been me. Right. But I just, it is just mind-boggling.
Right. Because most people are afraid losing their job.
Yeah.
So they just complying to it.
Yeah, but the more we comply at this point, the more we risk losing our country.
Right.
So I don't comply.
Right. And also, I think most people, they will think, okay, it's just like, if I let this go, then if you do something, you always get in trouble, right?
Yeah, and they don't want to get in trouble.
Right. So they say, okay, we'll just let it go and pretend it, and so everything.
And it'll just go away.
Right.
Everything will be okay. It'll just go. No, it won't.
It won't. It's just only getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
and
something.
The more we sit on our hands, we have our blinders on, we put our heads in the sand, we have an earplugs. The more we do that, the further it goes. And then, we're not going to have any freedoms.
No.
This isn't conspiracy theory. This is reality. You lived through Mayo. You understand. Yeah. And I can't express enough to people that you have to fight. You cannot comply. You have to use your sword, which is your tongue, to talk and to tell people, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not allowing my children to be treated like this. You are not going to teach my children difference. Right. You're not going to teach them discriminatory practice. No. You're not going to teach my kids comprehensive sexual education and show them these elementary school pornography. You're not going to do this to my children. You're not going to abuse them with masks. Right. You're not going to do this. Enough is enough.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, for taxpayers in the school districts, even we don't have kids in the public school, or like my kids are grown up, but we still have to fight, because whatever and also whatever they teach the student right now, they will become voters.
Yes.
And we'll lose our freedom.
Yes.
We are so close to become a totalitarian country. I think.
Oh, it's frightening.
Yeah, this mask mandate and vaccine mandate, tell us the same thing, is that we are that close to become a totalitarian country.
And what I hope is that the people who were in fear during the beginning of COVID, those people who were scared and who were easily manipulated, if this happens again and they try to pull the same kind of manipulation through the fear mongering, if they try to do it again, I really pray with all of my heart that these people, when it happens, they open their eyes and they say, wait a minute, this is a do-over.
Right.
And I'm not falling for it.
Right.
Like I'm just not going to live like that.
Right.
For some 1% to take over our country and live with a bankroll.
Right.
You know, just I'm not.
Right.
I pray that people's eyes have been opened enough people to where there's a bigger pushback. If anything, you know, we still have to push back now, but if anything, like what's been going on with us in the beginning of this whole COVID stuff starts again, I pray that people
Right.
don't live in fear.
Exactly. And also, like, if you think it's far-fetched, like for like for me to talk about my experience during Cultural Revolution and all that. Now, if any parents or voters think that's far-fetched, you just look at what happened in California and what happened on the East Coast. You see that, and that's what we are getting into. And yeah, I think you know Alvin Liu, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he actually escaped from California, and he, because all the things was happening there, and he came to Carmel, and then he realized that the same things going to happen here. Yeah, I think I'm also guilty on that. I didn't really pay attention to what's happening in California because I think it's just far away, right? Indiana is a conservative, and that
we're red. It's not coming here.
It's not coming here. But then, whoa! All of a sudden, I say, "Wow!"
No, I know. That's what we did. You know, Johnson County is such a red county,
right?
And to have this nonsense taking over down here is. It is beyond me how this happened.
Right.
When these school boards get in and then they hire on their superintendents are lying to them. Their superintendents are not being upfront. I truly believe the superintendents need to give their political parties also.
Definitely. They have to, because school is not political neutral.
That's right. That's right. Especially not now. These teachers are sharing their political views with our children.
Exactly.
And also, berating our children for their political views.
Exactly. And the thing is, they're turning our kids to against us. And that's not just this all over the country, and especially I think this year, on the 2020 election, and a lot of Asian parents just all of a sudden found out their kids are against them. And it's just like,
well, they were teaching Asian hate in schools. They were teaching Asian hate. I don't understand. Like, I laugh about it because I feel like I'm stuck in some crazy movie.
Right.
Like, none of this makes any sense to me. I can't understand why people are falling for this.
Right.
But they had the Asian hate thing going on. And so you also have to understand SEL, their hierarchy is like this. So you have your children. Your children are to first trust the school, which equates to government. Then your children trust the peers. Then your children trust the community. We are on the outside.
Exactly.
We are not inside.
No, and that is exactly the philosophy of communalism.
Yes.
And where's the
that's what Hitler told all the Hitler youth.
Right.
SEL mimics it.
Exactly.
The way the public schools and a lot of private schools are using the framework is deplorable. It is sick. It is completely sick.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I really enjoyed talking with you, and I definitely wants to, if you're okay, wants to interview you again, because you have a lot to share, and also really.
I love you.
Well, thank you. I mean,
I am grateful to have you as a friend, Dr. K.
Same here. I'm really grateful that you are fighting this fight. Yeah, we really need like brave people like you. I mean, sometimes we just need a few brave people to stand in the front, and people
Exactly.
the people will join us. And
well, that's what I tell the parents. I say, I know you're scared. I know that you have fear, but this is not the time to be afraid.
No.
And if you need courage, lean on me, because I will give you courage. I will stand there with you. If you need me to hold your hand at a school board meeting while you talk, I will do it. I will be there so you can have your voice heard. Because what happens is when you do stand beside them so closely and you do lend that courage of a handhold or just standing next to them, the next time they decide to do something like that, they won't be so scared because they know there's nothing to fear. I mean, because I'm not a superhuman kind of, I don't put up some superhuman sphere around people to protect them. All I do is I need to show parents that there's nothing to be afraid of. And another thing I tell parents is to, remember when your kids were born. Remember when you held your babies for the first time. And remember that thought of, you won't ever let anything hurt them. You won't ever. From there, I want you to look at what's going on in these schools and tell me there's nothing wrong. And tell me that you need to be afraid. Guess what? There's no room for fear when it comes to protecting our children.
No.
And I will fight for all of them. But we need all parents to raise the wrath of God to bring our kids back.
Exactly. And also we have to realize, well, thank you so much for that. And also we have to realize that it's only getting harder if we don't fight.
Absolutely. There are things that once they are in place, good luck removing them. I mean, good luck, because then what you'd have to do is go into complete anarchy mode and bring everything down to build it back up. And you know what? I love our country. All we have to do is start fighting now and stop it.
Exactly. And we are so close of losing it, to lose our republic. I mean, if you see what happened in countries like Venezuela, you see that once you let them have it,
it was like this.
It's very hard to get back.
I have friends from Venezuela that tell me, oh yeah, the government, your prices on your electricity will go down. We'll help you with that. Well, what they're not telling you is that for 8 to 10 hours a day, you don't have any electricity. Your food prices, we'll make sure we help with your food. So we'll give you government funding for food, but when you go to the supermarket, there's not any food. They don't understand what all of it means. I like to say, when you are offered government cheese, you are nothing but a mouse on the wheel running to chase that cheese. You will never get it. And when I lived in Canada for 11 years. So when I moved here, I hear the left is pushing for like healthcare for all, and trying to be like Canada. And I know what that is, because it is for all, but what you got is just you don't get any health care.
You don't get any. I mean, it's kind of like you go to the clinic, and my sister, one of my sisters are still living in Vancouver, Canada, and she needs some kind of medication. And first of all, they don't have family doctors. You just go there.
You go to the thing. You go to the clinic thing.
Clinic thing. Whoever got you end up with that. And the doctor refused to give her the medication because it is too expensive.
Well, I have friends in Canada, up in Ontario, the Ontario area, and one of them ended up getting cancer. When they went in to see the oncologist told them that they'd have to wait 6 months for cancer treatment. Well, no. So what they ended up doing was pulling all of their money together. They ended up selling their house, ended up coming to the United States to actually get seen by a doctor to get treated. And that isn't only for cancer. You have the people with the heart disease. You have people with all kinds of diseases that leave Canada to come here to get health care.
Exactly. And my sister suffered depression, so she needs to see a psychiatrist, and she won't be able to see one after, I mean, she couldn't say anyone. She had to wait
Oh
until
my,
more than half a year.
that's Canada for you. That is socialist healthcare. That's what happens.
Yeah, but the thing is, many Americans don't see that. They say they
No.
still think we're trying to have the
They
same
want it
kind
for
of
free.
Medicare, right? Same kind of service, but it's
Yeah.
for free. But now, once you get free, you don't have the same level of care. It's basically
Well,
what you end up is kind of like you go to Walmart, go to the not Walmart, Walgreens kind of thing to have a clinic, and that's all you have. Maybe you just have a little bit aspirin or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I have a family member that is on Medicaid or Medicare, and there's the donut hole. So after so much money, they spend so much money on your medication after so much is covered, you fall into the donut hole. Oh. Well, he went from, oh, my medicine is $60 a month to, oh, my medicine is $450 a month once he hit his donut hole. So wow. It is not free. And people have to understand that this is bad business, man. This is our country falling.
Right.
Nothing is free.
No, nothing.
Once the government tells you they are going to give you something for free, they mean you are going to pay with your freedoms.
Right.
Or nothing.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. Definitely wants to interview again.
Absolutely. You let me know when, as long as it's a morning, because the later ones don't work.
Okay, definitely. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Ping.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye.